out of this. Friends and family, welcome back to another episode of Workin On It Pod. I'm Megan's brother, Ryan Trainor.
I'm Meghan Trainor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sally.
And this is Sally.
Sali
Crazy
Kharazi, however you want to say it.
Yes, Sally, for those of you who don't know, is one of my amazing managers. So she runs my whole life.
I try.
But she's so much more than a manager. She is my life source and is my, does things that no manager should. Helps me book restaurants. I'm like, I want to go to dinner. How do I do it? And then she's my cool boss lady that does it. You do it all. Full stop.
Yeah, she does literally everything. We're going to dive into, what it is like to be a manager. And for those people out there that think oh, I want to get into management.
I want to be
There's a lot that goes into it. I personally have a funny story of me kind of when I first moved out here, I'm doing internship with her original management.
Oh, yeah.
And there was just one music video shoot. I was really just an extra there. That I had that
for
quick
title.
For title.
You were in
and
that.
You were in it.
All I remember was just kind of, I don't know, a couple hours go by, Megan's like, yo, can you tell the AD this and this and this? I was like, yeah, no problem. I go tell the AD, I'm like, yo, this is what Megan said. He's like, oh, you're kind of cool. I fuck with you. I'm only talking to you. I fucking hate that other guy. Fuck that guy. You're my guy now. I go, I'll do whatever you need to do. Okay.
Sure.
So I was literally, I was doing the day-to-day management because that guy just didn't want to talk to the other guy. And I go, oh, maybe I could do this. You just got to talk to people and talk to the client.
That's one thing about my team is everyone comes to me like a proud parent. You know how they go to mom and dad and be like, your kids are so polite in school.
Right.
Everyone comes to me and goes, your management are the nicest people. And I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, your management now is top tier. This is way back in the day. And then I remember I had said something to one of the other, she was like, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know, maybe day to day. This is kind of, and then she ratted on me to the top guy. He calls me, he's like, I will fire you. I fired family. You just don't ride Megan's coattails. Figure it out. And, in the long run, as I see her go through the life and I see what the day-to-day manager does, I go, I would never want to do that job. I was just out of my fucking mind and had fun one day at a music video set. That's just a great day.
I feel like that's what people see on social media.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, you get to hang out with your favorite artist and that's what you do all day long. And I'm like, yeah,
no.
Yes, but
let's
no.
teach
I want to
people
dive
today.
into your daily, you wake up, emails. What's happening?
It's like pregnancy where everyone's different and every client's
Yeah.
different. Wait, quick shout out to Uncle Steve who listens to every podcast. Isn't that crazy?
Hi, Uncle
Why?
Steve. We
I
love
don't
you.
know.
Yeah, Steve.
But we
People
love you.
listen to
Okay. I was like, you what? He's like, yeah, I learned that from your
Funny,
podcast.
You're informative.
He's great. He's like, that's how I learned about the family stuff.
Okay. Shout
Gets
out Uncle
all the tea
Steve.
by
Love
listening.
you, Uncle Steve. Okay,
Um,
so you're in the industry, but also you're a
Yes.
woman in the industry.
Correct.
And there's a whole nother lane with that.
It's what I didn't actually know you could work in the music industry. So when I was a kid, I just loved music. I didn't know you could.
There were jobs.
There was jobs, yeah, because no one in my family does this.
I didn't know that either.
I was born in Iran. It's similar to being in Nantucket. You're in a bubble on an island somewhere, basically.
A little different.
Yours is crazier. Well, it's just like Nantucket.
The difference is you can't actually, you're not allowed to watch movies or listen to music, things like that. It's very strict. But my parents were
How old
incredible.
were you when you left, Iran?
I was 6.5. So I
Oh
had
my
a good chunk
gosh.
of life there. And it was my
Yeah.
parents. I
no
love my
TV,
parents.
no music.
Technically. But
Okay. You snuck
you
it
have
in.
satellite on your rooftop and you get channels and
There's a
guy came
way to
by in a
finesse.
briefcase and he opened it up and there was VHS movies in there.
My
You know what I
God.
mean?
Drug
But-
deals.
Basically, but for entertainment. So it's crazy being in America where this stuff is just at our fingertips, and I don't take any of that for granted because I'm there's people out there that don't have
that.
luxury of this.
Yeah.
And so imagine growing up, you're listening to music. It all seemed so far away from me. I was like, wow, the Backstreet Boys are this group that are just another planet. I never thought I'd even be able to see them in person live ever. And let alone work in an industry where I could one day rub shoulders with them and be like, hey.
Right. So if
Hello.
you can see her hair on this episode, it is blue and black.
Correct.
And that is because of the Black and Blue album with Backstreet Boys.
Correct.
Because they are her number one.
Oh, that's
Number
for
one.
real? I thought that was
It is.
a joke. That's
No,
legit.
She's
That album came out in 2001. I dyed my hair crazy 2004. So 20 years next year, I'll have had blue hair. So many people don't know me without blue hair. It's wild.
Yeah, I don't know you without your blue stripe.
I'm so colorblind. It's like I barely see it.
It's so nice because it's
dark,
subtle.
though.
It's
It's
subtle
dark,
and
yeah.
cool.
I'm not trying to peacock.
Like I
It's just
forget, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah.
there it is. You put, you maybe like,
But that's how
gave it a
dedicated
refresher.
she is to her favorite band.
looks sick.
And
Yeah.
I've gotten to work with them like twice now or something. And every time I do,
Dream
I'm
of my
like,
life.
this is Sally. Her hair's blue for you. You know? We
And
got
I'm
them
just
to
like,
sign
hey,
your
I'm a professional in the
13-year-old
industry, I swear. But like, I love
Yeah.
you guys. You're great. This is my favorite
We
song.
got them to sign your 13-year-old journal.
You did. You
That's
did.
great.
I was 8 actually with my 8-year-old.
And now you're like
8.
friends with them.
yeah. Well,
8
that's a
years
stretch.
old?
I was 8.
Jesus.
I was 8. But I mean, but like all of the story being, I had no idea this was a job,
Yeah.
and I just loved it. I just loved music. I was like, if I could listen to music for the rest of my life, like I'm good. And then from Iran, we moved to Vancouver, Canada, which like is an amazing place. They shoot a lot of movies there now, but still not really like happening place. Like
Still
you didn't really
far
get
from
many
LA.
concerts. I think like if you think about when you toured, going to Canada was a whole process and a whole
Yeah.
thing. So you didn't always go to Canada. Maybe it was like every other tour or whatever it was. And so even there, I was like, it's a different planet. So I never knew. I was just like, maybe I'll become an entertainment lawyer and I can work in entertainment.
Wow.
Because I didn't like, I was like, okay, doctor, dentist, lawyer. That's what
Were
you
your
do when you
grades
grow up.
good?
They were, I did great in, ironically, PE, which is funny, and music. And then my other grades were like, fine. They were fine.
Because
Yeah.
if you're like, I'm going to be a lawyer, I would think you have like great grades.
Yes, you should.
I
mean,
was like, oh, I'm not going to be a lawyer.
you're also prepared to go to like extra school. You have to go to another 4
Yeah.
years, and then you got to like law school's a thing.
Yeah,
It's
and
hard.
I think you just have, you
hard.
just have to love the concept of like, I'm going to read a bunch of chapters and
Yes.
memorize a bunch of stuff.
And
Like,
then after that, you have to read contracts,
That's
and
like
there's
what
like
I'm worst
200-page
Yeah, same.
contracts.
That's like my least.
Yeah.
I can't read.
But
I
as
can't
manager-
memorize.
remember.
As a manager, like we go through your contracts, and I talk to your lawyers all
Yeah.
the time. And there's times when you're like, "Can we just sign the paper?" And I'm like, "No, we
Yeah,
gotta
you're
read
like,
it."
what are you signing?
We have to-
She's so cute when she comes up to me and I'll be signing something random at
Someone
a
will
show.
hand
and
her a
she's
stack of photos, and she'll start signing, and I'm like,
like, what's this?
"Just gonna take a look at
I was
this
like,
real
it's
quick."
fine. Give 'em my soul.
But yes, I didn't know. And then I just started as like, I think my first like getting into the industry, which I didn't even know was a thing, was I was like 13 and my camp counselors were in a band and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And my parents took us to a concert when I was 13 at the Key Club in LA. They took us thinking like, our kids are taking us to a cool concert. And it was like screamo garage rock band. And
That
my
was your
parents,
camp counselor?
by the end of the night, were just like in a corner huddled.
But you thought they were superstars.
I was like, wow, this is cool. The music is now in my face. And I was like,
was that your first show?
that was my first show. That was I think it was January 9th, 2004. I was 13 years old.
Jesus.
I know. Weird.
I don't remember that.
being
instant
so burned into
concert,
my brain.
bro. I mean, because we're on the island, we didn't go to any concerts, but
Right.
like our first one, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's,
Oh.
it's your
In
rivals
sync.
in sync.
Listen, they're all friends
And
now.
I do
It
remember.
kind of messes with my brain a little bit.
Yeah, you're
I had
upset.
such
You get
a-
upset. You're
Yeah.
like, why are you doing
like,
videos with Lance? and we're like, we love Lance.
I'm like, okay, he's nice, I guess.
He's so nice.
But they're all friends now. Like
Yeah,
I
they're
went
all
to this benefit show and they like
They have to be.
They
Like,
perform with each other and I'm like, oh, my
Their story
brain
was
can't
crazy, yeah.
comprehend. Yeah. Weird. But
okay,
anyway,
so the band inspired you.
so
to be
band
in the
inspired me. I was like,
industry.
wow. I was like, this is a thing. Like bands perform, and like someone got them this show, right? Like this. Somehow they got on this stage. They didn't do it themselves.
Oh, I
really.
never think about that.
because I was just like, how does this?
This is NSYNC's home. They live here.
Yeah.
I was like, how does this happen? And then actually, I lied. My first real concert was the reason I moved to LA, which my dad bribed me with tickets to see the Backstreet Boys Black and Blue tour at the
There
Staples
it
Center.
is.
But then my first like local show of being like, oh, this is an accessible thing was that Key Club show where I went at 13 and I was just like, oh, this happens on a level where it's not just the Backstreet Boys. Like people do this to then get to that level. This is interesting to me. And then from there, I started like street teaming. Again, I didn't know the names for any of these. I know them
What's
now.
street teaming?
So street teaming is like when you have your fans that like pass out posters for you and promote your concerts or
They'll do that?
yeah. And so like I didn't
Now
again.
they just post for me.
Now it's just posting. So back then, and not to age myself too much.
No.
Back then it was really just you weren't accessible. Like I couldn't tweet Nick Carter. I couldn't
Yeah.
I couldn't DM Meghan Trainor. I just was
so
like,
accessible right
maybe
now.
I'll go to a show and maybe she'll see me in the
Yeah.
last row of the Staples Center
Wow.
going like this with a sign that says, I heart Meghan, like prayers. But now you can just post your photos on Instagram, tag your artist, and maybe they actually will see them. It's incredible. And I think it's such an amazing like place that we're at now. But back then, it again felt so far away.
I know, but isn't that kind of cooler though? Like I feel like Harry Styles
Kinda.
is so cool because you're just like, the man is untouchable. Like
yeah, and
he has an Instagram, but it's like
we
it
don't know
promotes his tour.
anything.
Like it's not, you can't contact the guy.
I think there's some magic in that, but I do think it's cool now to like, you've been able to directly talk to some fans and like change their lives or like,
right.
I know it's I see both
Yeah,
both
both ways win, I guess. It depends.
I think
on-
there's
When I was
boundaries
younger,
and I think
there's
fans
boundaries,
Yeah.
need
and
to
they
be, as a fan
They
first,
need to learn that.
fans
Yeah.
need to learn that there's boundaries
Yeah.
and you can't show up to your favorite artist's house and you can't like,
You
don't
can't DM them
don't be
saying,
creepy.
give me tickets.
don't do that. Like buy your tickets. I still, my favorite bands who I know now, like personally, and have their numbers and know their managers, I still buy tickets to their shows because I'm
Yeah.
like, I
You
love
still
them
wake
and
up at
support
4
them.
a.m. and buy those
I sure do.
unlimited things. I'm like, what are you doing tomorrow? She's like, well, there's just like a unlimited Manchester, what is it? Orchestra album coming out, and like it's only for a limited time, so I'm gonna get up at 4. And I'm like, what?
Craziest thing I
I
ever
was like,
did
call them.
was I went to Amoeba Records in Hollywood. And there's this thing called Record Store Day where artists still make like physical records and they're limited edition on Record Store Day to help independent record stores like stay alive and well, which is an incredible and important part of our industry. So there was 1,000 of this one album made. The album was Deja Entendu by this band Brand New. And it was like they made 1,000. And the thing with Record Store Day is there's all these record stores across the country. You don't know how many copies of this album these record stores are going to get or if any. So 1,000 of them are spread out. So I went to Hollywood Boulevard and I camped out overnight.
Yikes.
To hopefully get this vinyl. I sat in line all night long to the morning. And then they
How old were you?
I was in my 20s. I was like 23.
Okay.
I was like
Okay.
22, 23.
Still scary.
It was wild. There was a lot
You
of
probably
there
look
was
12,
other people
by
there.
the way. You look very young and petite and small, so you
I made
probably look
friends
like.
with
But there's other
child
people,
line.
so you're all
Yeah, I
in
would
a
have been
group.
like, "Where's your parents?"
No,
Yeah.
yeah, there's other people in line.
Okay, cool.
But then the thing is, you're getting up to line, right? And you're like, I've spent 12 hours on
My
the street
life.
corner. And you're like, what if I get there and they're sold out? Because that happened.
Oh
I
my
got the
God.
last copy of that vinyl.
Holy shit.
I wish I cared
That's
about
the
anything
ultimate
that
experience.
much.
No, yeah, I don't, I
I've never fangirled over someone or something that hard.
Really, I think that's the reason why I love what I do so much.
yeah.
Because I'm still a fan of what we do in music. Like you have a superpower. Like I tell you, I'm like, it's magic that you can sit there and like words come out of your brain that are a song and then you put instruments to it and then it becomes a record that people listen to. I'm like, what? I'm like, did you know you're a
And now
magician?
you build out.
You're a magician.
I'm a magician.
You are.
Yeah.
It's so cool to me. And I think that's where, and we'll get back to like the journey of how to get into this, but like I think that's what the issue is nowadays. I think not enough people appreciate what they're doing. There's managers in the industry and there's people at record labels that don't care about the artists anymore. They don't care about the music anymore. It's all about like, how many streams can we get?
Algorithm.
How popular can we get this? What's the algorithm? Who can we get to like put the song in their music video or like their
I also
They
TikTok
feel like
forgot
video?
about the magic.
They forgot about the
Yeah,
magic.
and I feel like they were making so much money back in the day that
Yeah.
now they're not, and they're like,
Panicking.
how do
Yeah.
we survive?
But
you
they
know?
forget like artists are people and they're making art and they're making music. Like you put your
babies.
heart and soul into these songs. Yes. And then these songs are going to be the future for your children. And like, it's your livelihood. And I think
Yeah.
people forget that. And they forget, like fans forget when they show up to an artist's house or get angry because the artist didn't tweet back at them. Like they're human. They're probably putting their kid to sleep.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to have a regular life as well as make this magical thing that you listen to that you say saved your life. Like it's important to think about these things. And I think that's what I try to always stay in touch with. That's why I still wake up at 4 a.m. That's why I still like wait in line for things. Cause I'm like, this is why I love it and why I care about it. So I'm not going to forget this part of me. Like, could I do a ticket buy? Sure. If it sells out, I can do a ticket buy, but I've worked hard to be in that position. But if I can just wake up 5 hours earlier, or like, actually at that point it's like 3 hours earlier. If I can just wake up 3 hours earlier to buy tickets to something, I'm going to do it because it's fun still and it's exciting.
You get that rush.
So
Get the
cute.
rush. But back in the day, to go back to like street teams, the labels would essentially put out the thing of like, are you the biggest fan of Meghan Trainor? Join her street team. We'll send you posters and then you put them up in your hometown and you promote that she's coming to.
That's so genius. I've never got that when I was a kid.
But you probably,
because on
really?
Nantucket, they
I
didn't
guess,
care.
Yeah. There were no concerts in Nantucket. They probably happened in Boston,
no concerts, yeah.
LA, New York.
Cities.
And that's the thing too. I'm so grateful that my parents ended up moving to LA because I have the resources.
Do we still do that?
Kind of. It's more
no fans are like willing to.
Well,
go
we
out
make
there,
assets now, and then people like post assets. But like even back then, when like it was transitioning from MySpace to Facebook, it was like make Meghan's album cover your profile picture, and then that was like it would get you like 10 points, and then you could like build up points and like get a signed CD or something.
Wow, you guys are smart.
But before that, like for my camp counselors, I was just like, I just love this music. I want everyone to hear it. This is so cool. So I would just burn CDs at home and I would like hand them out. And like one Halloween, my friends and I dressed up as them. And then when we went to like trick or treat, they would give us candy and we're like, here's a CD. Do you have like young kids at home?
No
They should listen to this. Also, like,
you've been managing since you were a kid.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. I'm sorry to those parents who got those CDs. But I was passionate about the cause.
It was just because it's screamo, right?
Yeah, it was just screamo.
Hell yeah.
But it was so good. I felt something. I was like, yes. I didn't know
Sally's
that.
rage.
Like, rage.
What was your first job that you were like, oh, I'm in the industry?
I joined another street team for this other band. And then it was just like, they sent me posters to put up. And I thought it was cool.
When you join a street team, it's like an email?
Literally, you put your email in, you make a password.
And you're like, I'm in this
And they're like,
street
here are
team now.
missions. And then they're like, we'll send you posters. And you have to say, like, if you send me the posters, I'm not just going to put them up in my room. Like, I'm going to put them up places, take photos, and then upload so you saw my work.
You're not like reselling them.
And then what happens is if you don't do the work, then you don't get to do other missions and stuff like that.
So you have to send pictures in?
Yeah, so you send pictures in.
Shut up!
They sent
existed?
They existed. And they sent me these jumbo posters. I was like, where do you put? And it was big posters. So I'm like, where do I put this? And I was like, well, the side of my parents' car, obviously. So I convinced them to let me put these posters up on like the passenger side. So they had to like crawl in from the other side just for like a couple days. And we took a road trip, I think, to Big Bear or something. And the poster was just on the side of the car. So I sent photos to the label because that's who was running it. And then I was graduating from high school that year and they reached out to me and they're like, hey, would you like to intern at our label? And I was like, what's an internship?
Yeah.
I didn't know. No one taught me these things.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, so by that point I was like, okay, how do I make this a career? I love telling people about music and bands that they don't know about. How do I make this a job? And someone's like, well, that sounds like PR. That sounds like public relations. And I was like, great, that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I thought was the closest thing. And again, had no idea that like a music manager was a thing because no one says like, hey, that's a career. So I got this email and I was like, absolutely, I'm in, whatever you need. And at the time, I think still a lot of places do free internships, but there's no money in that. And I was just like, I don't care. I just get to be working with these artists.
Were you in high school?
I just graduated.
Okay.
Which is great because I turned 18 that summer and that's when you can work officially, or at the time you could. I don't know if you can younger now, but I was 18 and I graduated in June and then I started my internship in October at the record label. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like I got a badge, I can go inside the Universal Music Building. And I was like, my God, I have a little desk, which was like in an inventory closet, but I was like, it's my inventory closet. And then I don't know, I guess I just worked really hard. And in January, they offered me an actual paying position.
Wow.
To do at the time it was called new media because it was new, but now it's like social media. So I did all of the artists on the label, like their Facebook pages and their MySpace pages and like maintained it. And like I ran the street team, which was crazy because I came from the street team and I was like, full circle, this is crazy. But that's kind of how it started. And I think internships are really important. And we have a great internship program. And it's like we get interns sometimes and they don't want to work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, this is such a cool opportunity. Like, let's get excited. And they're like, oh, I just need my hours for school. And I'm like, what a missed opportunity.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens though when you're like 21. Like when I did my first internship, I mean, I had some issues I needed to work out, just didn't. So it was bad. And I just like, you just don't know. You don't know where you're at until it's over. You're just like, fuck, I could have done so much. You could bounce around, like go talk to every single person in that. Because I was like, I don't want to bug anybody.
That's what
I'm just
Sally's
like, I'm Megan's brother. Like no one wants to fucking hear my shit. But if you go and pick everyone's brain, people would love to take 30 minutes out of their day to just be like, that you could do this. Everyone, people get fired up about it.
Yeah.
Like you would probably love that conversation with someone.
I love if an intern emails me and they're like, hey, I'd love to get like 10 minutes of your time. I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah. No,
I will
Sally
stay later to do that.
I'd be like, where's Sally? And they're like, she's on a lunch with some girl that's a part of this company. And it took me like a year to figure out I was like, why is she wasting time like going to these lunches and brunches and blah, blah, blah. Like she's just talking to people. And then you explained it to me and I was like, you're a genius. Like you're going to be the president of the world.
I think that's what another thing that people forget, right? It's like everyone's like, I want to be a music manager. I want to do this. And it's like, okay, why are you doing it? Is it because you love music or is it because you want the clout? Both things are valid things, right? Someone just wants to be like famous music manager, like all power to you. I personally, my way of looking at it is just be the best person, be nice. It might take you longer to be nice in the industry, truly, but at least I can go to sleep at night and know that like I didn't stab anyone in the back, I didn't lie to anybody, like I have my morals intact. That's just how I like to do it. But I think people forget, like just take the time to ask how someone's day is going. And like if you're on a call and it's about business, like, hey, how you doing? Oh, it's like a baby screams in the back. Hey, like, are you busy? Do you want me to call you back? Like, nothing is that important, right? Like, you can ask someone how they're doing. You can be nice, and then you can develop a relationship. And I think that's the most valuable part of our industry is relationships.
Yeah.
And how you like maintain them. I love to, if I can, text someone and say, hey, how's it going? I saw this. It made me think of you, when I don't need anything from them. Because then one day down the line, if you say, for example, I want to go in with so-and-so, I go, oh, I know their manager. And it's because we've kept in touch. And it's because I've asked them how their day is. And I don't need them to go into a session with you, or I don't need them to like send me a video for something. I'm just saying like, hey.
You know what I think?
What do you think, M-Train?
I think the key to a good wardrobe is versatility. And that's why I'm so obsessed with my Nuuly. They sent me this gorgeous, I think it's called Serendipity, fuzzy V-neck, nice and low V-neck sweater. And I love it so much. I'm wearing it right now. Check it out.
So versatile.
Feel it.
It feels amazing.
Ooh.
You've been wearing it constantly and talking about it constantly. And, you know, you do look fantastic.
I get a lot of compliments, for realsies. Nuuly is an amazing subscription for clothing rental services, and they give me a choice of any 6 styles each month. It's a lot.
They offer access to thousands of styles from more than 400 brands in a wide range of sizes, including maternity, as you can see.
Whatever you have going on, a wedding, a dinner, a pregnancy like me, I'm 6 months pregnant. What else can you have? They'll help you find it. You could do whatever. You could be working, you know? They'll help you find it. Well, they'll help you find what works for you.
Okay. Plus, they have fast, free shipping and returns, professional cleaning, and the option to buy what you loved at a discount.
Woo! Nuuly is a great value at $98 a month for any 6 styles. But right now, you can get $20 off your first month of Nuuly when you sign up with the code WORK20. WORK 20. All caps on that work.
Just go to NUULY.com. That's Nuuly with 2 U's, and enter the code WORK20 and sign up to get $20 off your first month. That's NUULY.com. Nuuly with 2 U's with code WORK20. Nuuly subscription clothing rental. Change your clothes.
I look like a polar bear. So I'm going to be honest. It's very rare for us to not be fully decked out in Lululemon. I wear these every single day.
As you can see. I think it's fair though. You know, like the men's Pacebreaker shorts, it's such a adaptable piece of clothing. I reach for them at all times, regardless of like whether I'm seeing friends, running to the store, or just like trying to get a good official run in.
period. And you've been running lately.
I run.
My go-to when I'm not wearing these long leggings is the One to Train shorts. Oh my goodness, so nice for my pregnancy. It's got that amazing supportive stretch, because we're getting bigger. Makes you feel squeezed and supported just the right amount. It also features their fastest drying fabric ever, and we be sweating.
Legitness, aka for anyone who wants to work up a sweat without feeling sweaty.
Plus, I know when I have my Wonder Train on, I'm going to look good.
Same with the Pace Breaker. They fit so well and tie together any outfit I'm wearing.
Mm-hmm. Also worthy of a shout out, whoop whoop, Hottie Hot Shorts.
Ooh.
We're 8 months pregnant. We hot, they're so lightweight with a next level range of motion. It's truly the most versatile shorts out there. What? They also feature securely placed discreet pockets. We need pockets because Lululemon knows that regardless of whether you're planning a jog or a full-on marathon, you gotta be cute.
Go to Lululemon.com to check out their shorts. That's Lululemon.com.
Do it now. When I have a dream and I'm like, do you guys personally know anyone on this person's team? It's so nice. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's my good friend. I'll go call her right now. And it's easy. And I'm like, okay, good.
And I think that's what I've learned over the years. Because now, again, I don't want to date myself, but like starting street teaming, I was 13. But I was 18 when I started at the label, and I'm 33 this year. So I've been doing this for a really long time. And from the label, I went to working with an artist directly because I went to study. I simultaneously got into USC for public relations.
She's smart.
Because I thought that's what I wanted to do. And so I was doing PR. I was on the concerts committee at USC because I was like, well, I still want to stay in music, but I don't want to major in it because I'm already working in it. So I was at the label at USC and doing the concerts on campus. And then I went to study abroad in London, changed my life. Get out of your city, get out of your
London.
state. If you can, see the world. It will change your life. And then when I came back, I was like, I don't know if I want to work in labels anymore. I just felt too far from the magic. I was like,
I mean, yeah, they got a bad rep.
And it's tough. There's some good people, but at the end of the day, like you said, they need to make money. So it comes down to bottom line. Not all labels are bad. Not all people at labels are bad. But I think it gets a little tough when you're trying to protect the artists because you can't do it as well when you're like part of the problem,
Right. I feel like there's less creative within the label. There's like management has all the creative aspects.
It's also hard to keep up with all like, oh, now social media wants us to make this thing. And it's like, that's a whole
and their whole thing is business. So they go, Meghan, we need these liners for these people and we need it like tomorrow. And you're like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's a new thing another person is launching. And you're like, I'm like, it's just the business. And there's so much of that every day. The label just deals with that in and out. And I'm just like, it's so far from the part that I love.
Yeah. Some people love that shit though. It's just how their brain works.
Everything from the label is like favors, right?
Kind of, yeah. And it's the same thing. Labels need to maintain their relationships.
Yeah.
And they're across, the Spotifys and the Apples and the YouTubes. Yep. And then they're like, they try to maintain all the relationship across their artists, which also then helps you in turn. Because then they can promote your album, get you billboards with like the good relationships they have. So I get it. It just wasn't for me. And when I came back from London, I was just kind of like, I don't know where my next step is. And I happened to run into one of the guys that was in a band on that label. And he's like, well, we're releasing our third album independently. Why don't you come see how we do it? So
was this LMFAO?
No, this was Cisco Adler, whose family owns the Roxy on Sunset. And I used to go to the Roxy a lot. Once I went to that first show at the Key Club, I had like a bug. I was like, I got to go to as many shows as possible. So like Key Club, Avalon, the Roxy, the Whiskey, like all the places on the Sunset Strip. There's a place in Canoga Park called the Cobalt Cafe. And my friends and I, like poor parent would like drive us out there. We'd go to shows and it was like the coolest thing ever. So I went to the Roxy a lot and I ran into him there and he's like, well, just come over. He's like, I'm launching this thing called Banana Beat. He's like, it's kind of like a lifestyle company, but we're going to put out our third album. Come see how it's done and like work with us. I was like, amazing. So I kind of got to see how it was done independently. They teamed up with a distribution company called The Orchard, who helped them essentially provide this thing called label services, which is where they help you put out your music and they're not necessarily a record label, but they can get you some marketing and they can talk to Spotify for you and Apple for you and provide kind of the services that a label does, but they're not a major record label. So it's like it's different. And a lot of independent people team up and have distribution deals and kind of put their music out that way. So I learned a whole new world there.
Does that work?
It does work. It does work. I mean, one great example was when Macklemore's album came out. He basically teamed up with a company called ADA, which provides label services. And
so he wasn't like alone.
He wasn't alone, but in terms of like, he didn't have anyone like going to radio for him. He didn't have anyone like.
So they don't have like sometimes radio.
I think they have people with relationships, but they're not necessarily like, they don't have a power like a major label does. So they don't have a Sandy and they don't have a Rick and they don't.
These are my radio guys.
Yes.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Miss you. But they don't have necessarily those people that wake up and do they call it promotions. They might. But I don't think that they did at the time. And ADA
just
really
a smaller scale.
Much smaller scale. And if you think about it, they have thousands of artists versus like a handful of artists at these distribution companies. Yeah. And a lot of them are crossing over nowadays. Like a lot of them are doing more than just label services, and they're kind of turning into their mini like major labels, if you will, mini majors. And they do deals with artists and do imprints, and they've gotten really involved, but they don't have to be as involved. It just depends on the relationship you have with them and the priority that you are to them, and all that kind of stuff. So we put out an album like that, and I was like, wow, this is cool. You can be hands-on. You can pick the album cover. Like you can, it was bizarre because at the label, you just get it delivered and you put it out. You don't necessarily sit with you and go, Meghan, what are your dreams for your album cover?
Like we do now.
We do now. And we talk about your album name, and we talk about the colors, and we talk about the photo shoot.
Is this bush green enough or is it too pink?
Yeah. And then we can say like, oh, well, the pink kind of looks modern. And then you're like, yeah, but I think I want it to look real. And like that stuff is so amazing because you can touch every aspect of it. And I didn't know that.
Until it's my 16th edit and you're like, are we done?
I think we got it on the 14th.
Like, I think it's good, but if you want to do it again.
But that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, it's your name that's on it. It's your face that's on it. So if you're not happy with it, what the fuck does my opinion matter? Like, I'll give it to you. I'll tell you I thought it was perfect 3 edits ago. But if you're not happy, if you can't go to sleep at night.
I'm such a asker too. I'm like, do you guys like it? Because I will give up and I'll move on. And they're like, we all talked about it intensely and we think it's great, but no one will notice. And I'm like, great, fuck it, go.
There are things I will tell you, like, I really don't think.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think it matters. And you're like, but I won't be able to sleep. I'm like, then we can't do it. We will continue until it's perfect.
And I never had that before you guys.
And that's amazing too.
I got like 3 edits or something, you know?
You learned because you woke up and you were like, my album's out, but I don't like this photo, or like, I didn't. And you've learned like, hey, wait a minute. That's my face. I can say I don't like it.
Yeah.
I can pick that. Like you've come up and learned like, wait, I have an opinion in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I learned that too along the way. And I saw that at this like indie level of doing things, how involved you can get. And they were almost like, they had people helping them on management, but they were pretty much self-managed. So I could kind of help too. And I got to do like a couple dates on tours with them. And they had, it's crazy, this tour. So they had G-Eazy opening for them. It was like a G-Eazy opening. Maud's son was direct support. And then it was Shwayze and Cisco. And it was called
G-Eazy and then Maud? Wow.
G-Eazy was one of 3. And he was actually in college at the time too, finishing school. And then also on tour. So it was just a weird world ecosystem. And so I did that. And I was like
a messy tour back in the day.
They crushed it. And actually everybody was so focused on it
like
succeeding.
Showed up on time.
I mean, I don't know if they showed up on time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but they made the shows happen. And it was like, they were smaller venues, but they were packed and people loved it. And it was a summer tour. And they all kind of had summertime music at the time. It was amazing. And I was like, uh-oh, like you can get this involved. Now, where do I go from here? And I was starting to graduate from USC. And in my classes, they'd be like, well, at the PR level, you can do agency PR or corporate PR, or you can go like in-house somewhere. And I was like, I don't want to do any of this. I don't want to do any of this. I was like, I don't want to write a press release a day in my life. Pivot. I was like, what do I do? And I got a call and from Shwayze now, from Shwayze and Cisco, and he was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm graduating college in a month. I have no idea.
I'm panicking.
Thanks for calling. No clue. And he goes, why don't you come meet one of my friends? And I was like, sure. Just yes to opportunity. And I drove
He always
out.
says yes to going out of the house.
I don't love it. It makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But you got to get uncomfortable.
You gotta get uncomfortable.
You got to get uncomfortable. I've noticed that anytime I've ever messed up, it's because I've gotten too comfortable. You got to stay uncomfortable. Because if you
mess up.
But like, you know, if you're like sloppy with something or like you don't double check something, it's because you're like, yeah, it's fine. Because you're too comfortable. Don't get too comfortable ever.
That's cool.
Ever.
Okay, and you got a call and they were like, LMFAO needs you.
Well, no, he didn't tell me. He was just like, meet my friend.
Get to LMFAO.
And I was like, sure, I'll meet your friend. I don't know. Great, sure, I'll come out. I was like I thought branding was cool at the time because I was like, well, the album can be a brand and like branding is cool. And I was like, maybe I like branding. That's what I'm going to get into. And I was talking to this company and like basically trying to convince them that they need me and they should hire me. And simultaneously he called me and I was like, yes, I will be there. So I drive out to this house and it's like far Malibu, like far. I keep driving and I'm not getting there. And I'm like, where am I going? And I was like, should I be worried? I was like, no, I know him. This should be fine. I should be safe. And I like pulled up to this house. It's like a log cabin overlooking the ocean in Malibu. And I'm like, what world am I in right now? So I was like, whatever. I walk in. I'm nervous, like pooping my pants. I'm just like, so I walk in. I'm like, hey, where are we? And he's like, come upstairs and meet my friend. And he introduced me to Sky Blue from LMFAO. And at the time, he had his like long hair, long curly hair. And it was when Party Rock Anthem was like taking over the world.
Oh my God.
They already had the
Did
Kia
you recognize
commercial.
him? Because I don't think I knew what they looked like for
Immediately.
a while.
Immediately, bro. They were
Really?
their music
Well, no,
video
once I
played
knew,
on
you can't
MTV like
unsee
every
them,
day.
but
Yeah. Because they already had like shots and I'm in Miami Bitch.
Oh, okay.
And
They
like
were popping.
they were
I thought it was like
popping.
their first song.
And
No.
Party Rock Anthem was already out. So like the hamster commercial with the Kias
Yeah,
was
that
out.
fucking hamster
like,
commercial.
I was just like,
embedded in my brain.
whoa, what? I was
Sick.
like, hey, nice to meet you. And in my head, I'm like, what's happening?
You had no idea why he would say, come meet my friend.
And so we just started talking and we all ended up hanging out. We're just talking. He just kind of told me about like his hopes and his dreams. And he's like, we're going on tour with LMFAO, but I kind of want to, launch my own brand within that. And I was like, branding, you say? And I was like, oh, I'm really interested in that. And he's just like, I kind of want to just have my own identity within the band. And I was like, that sounds really cool to me. So we all ended up going to dinner. And then after dinner, he was like, so like, are you gonna come back? Like when can you start? And I was like, oh, is this a job interview? And I was like, oh, as soon as I graduate in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you come 2 days a week until you graduate? And I was like, yes, absolutely. You just say yes, I will figure it out. And so I started 10 days after I graduated USC. I went on tour with LMFAO. So that's when that happened. And it was wild.
Was that with Kesha or no? That was another
That was
one?
right after the Kesha tour.
Okay.
So this one,
I personally saw the Kesha tour with LMFAO and I was like,
oh, that's the
that
tour
was
with
a
them?
party.
Bro, that was the greatest time of my life.
That was a fun show.
Party into party. I was like, I love all of these songs right now.
And you didn't realize
Sky
how many
Vodka,
songs they
Kesha, and
Oh,
LMFAO.
dude.
Oh
Yeah.
my
And like
God.
we were literally, because I performed there now. It's that like tent in Boston. What is
That
it?
place
I
is
performed
sick.
Twice
The,
there now.
I was there with you. We did a radio show out
Yeah.
there.
I did my last tour there too.
The hell is that
was a
venue
fun show.
called?
What is that called? Big white tent.
I see it in
Oh,
my
I
head. I have
see it.
photos.
I
You
hate
had
myself.
pink.
I
You had
can't
pink
think about
hair
it.
the last time you were there, and
But when
we
I
met
went
Jewel.
with all my little friends, we were like
High school.
fucking high school, yeah, 8th grade. And
No, you were older.
They looked 12. They got belligerent. I didn't get drunk because I was too scared. I drank, but I was like, I need to be able to like hand my ticket to the lady and get in my seat. We were literally the last row, like the back of the tent. And they immediately knew they were drunk and were like, we're going to go. And like, you can't. They all had fake IDs. That's what it was.
Oh my God.
And I didn't. I was like, I don't have a fake ID. I don't have a fake ID. And they all had big, tall drinks in their hands. And they were like, absolutely fucking not kids.
Yeah.
Go throw them away and leave forever. I was like, well, I don't have a drink. Can I go? And like, somehow they let us all in there and we were in the back row. And at first I was devastated. I was like, this is the seats we got. And then I was like, I had the best time of my life.
Yeah.
So performing there, I was like, even that back row is having fun. You know?
Yeah, the whole place has a good time.
Yeah.
It was
That's so
amazing.
funny.
And that tour
So
was.
then they headlined it with you.
They headlined, and Matthew Koma opened.
Shut up.
Yes,
What?
Matthew Koma
What?
opened. Him and his guitar.
That's Hillary Duff's husband, and my good friend, Matthew
Yes.
Koma.
And and that tour was when his song Clarity came out.
Oh.
And so like
When I found out he wrote all those, I was like, are you my favorite songwriter?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he's super talented.
Do you know what else he wrote, dude? The fucking I like us better when we're wasted.
Oh my God, what a banger.
Man has hits.
I saw him and I said, I'm sorry, did you write my favorite song?
Yeah.
And he goes, what? And I sang it and he's like, oh, kill me. I was like, that's the best song
Dude,
ever.
I love that. I forgot about that song. That just unlocked so many memories.
Ever. I think he's singing on it too. It's the best song.
I gotta play it later today.
That era was just, and it, yeah. So that was, it was Matthew Koma. We had like Sydney Sampson, who was a DJ. Who else did we have? Oh, Far East Movement was direct support. It was a fun tour. It was just a fun time.
Good guys, good people.
And they were working hard. So we'd be on tour. This is your nightmare.
But they could drink?
We would be, they would drink a lot.
See, how do you work hard and drink? I can't do it all.
Your body gets used to it.
It was a party.
You were like, it's not that hard.
It was a party. And I will say, like, in terms of being a female, I was one of 3 or 4 females on that entire tour. So there was like 140 people on that tour. And it was like me, the tour manager, the lighting director, and one of the dancers, and maybe like a couple others. But like
the lighting director was a female?
I think she was.
Wow, boss. Yeah. I've only met dudes.
Either an LD or an assistant.
Only fucking guys in this industry.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And so that was my whole mentality on that tour was like, I was like, I didn't drink very much. I was like, I gotta have a good head on my shoulders. I gotta make a good impression. I was like, I can't be the girl and the girl that gets sloppy. I can't have as fun. I can't have as much fun because I have to pay attention. I have to like head on a swivel at all times. And in a way, I kind of not regret. So I don't regret. I wish I had more fun because I was so uptight about it. But at the same time,
they're probably like, wow, she survived that and was so.
My reputation was, wow, she has her shit together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll take that because that kind of leads to like your next job and your next job and your next job. And I was just like, my reputation is everything to me. I can't mess it up.
And it was top tier after that, probably.
I can't mess it up at 22. I have a lifetime to go. I don't want to mess up what I'm doing.
You were 22.
I was 22. It was wild. It was actually wild.
And you're like traveling the country. If you would have tried to keep up with those guys,
and we would
you would have died.
First of all, I would have died. Secondly, we would be like on tour and we'd be like in Dallas, and the next day we'd fly to Vegas and do 2 shows in Vegas because they had a residency. Then we'd be
they had residencies while they were on tour.
While we were on tour because it was summer.
A shit ton of money.
I hope so. I wouldn't. I was too low on the payroll to know how much they made, but like I'm
sure they did okay.
I'm sure they did a great job. But like we would fly back, and then we went to Toronto, and they hosted the Much Music Video Awards in the middle of tour, which was full circle for me growing up in Canada. I was like,
did you do that with me?
We did Much Music Video Awards. You
and
performed.
I remember being like, I've never heard of this. And you were like, this is the biggest thing ever.
This is my
cool
dream in life.
It's the best that you came from Canada because you teach me everything I'm doing. I'm like, what am I doing?
Well, and it was, and again, being in Canada, everything seemed so far away. So Much Music, which was filmed in Toronto, and I was in Vancouver, I was like, Toronto is so far. And then I'm there with LMFAO, and they're hosting. So like Carly Rae Jepsen, Justin Bieber, they're all trying to come and talk to the guys, and I'm just standing there like, can I get a photo for the Instagram? And I was like, this is crazy. Again, fan first. So like keeping my cool, but I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like, holy shit.
I feel like that's a whole skill to not blow your cool. No, you're right. Like
to not like
lose your cool when you're fangirling. Cause like even a grown ass adult like my father or someone would be like, can I get a picture? You know, like, and you but
it's nice that you still have that fangirl mentality, because it is nice when we get to do something cool. You're like, dude, Ryan, this is dope, right? I was like, this is crazy. Like all the cool sports
Dallas
stuff.
Cowboys,
like
all my sports things.
Like I feel like a lot of people, they would just be like, whatever, dude. Like,
all the sports things I've ever said yes to were because of you two human beings.
Yeah.
I go, Tommy, should I do it? Do you think Sally would like it? He would be like, yeah, Sally.
There was one weekend that you blessed our lives, and you did.
I don't even know.
You released the Falcon at the LAFC game.
God.
And the next day, you tossed the coin at the Rams game. And I'm like,
that was the coolest weekend.
Back to back. Just.
And I don't know if you remember, I don't know where you got this energy, but you released the Falcon at LAFC, then you guys went to Hollywood Horror Nights, and then the next day you did the Rams coin toss.
God, we were so young and just
guys,
just crushing life.
Like, also, I practiced flipping a coin for hours.
You just stand there.
Do it. I didn't even get to touch it. I went up there and I was like, hand it to me, and he was like, what? And then flipped it, and I was like, should I jump or something? What do I do? I just stood there like a loser.
Should I call it? Should I call heads tails?
Yeah. They didn't even say say it in the microphone. I just was like, oh, I'm just here.
Yeah. No, but then we got the best seats
from
in the
game.
Dude, I was like, what do we do?
And Ryan and I are like, yeah.
That's how they always do it though. Somebody just walks out.
Yeah, you're like the honorary
queen?
Basically, captain.
You're in the building.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
And then shout out to Bootsy Bellows Lounge.
Request. Yep. But it's all night. I'm like, flip.
Why did you tell her?
Nobody told me.
I thought it was funny.
Like, what if I drop it?
I was like, she's going to be upset.
But yeah. And then fast forward, I realized after a long time, then I literally going to just go over this real quick because I want to get to how to get in the industry. And basically, I did the touring thing. Things kind of slowed down in the LMFAO world. And then Shwayze was like, hey, I'm starting like my indie label and I'm going to go on tour. And he's like, why don't you come manage me? And I was like, what? And he's like, why don't you just come manage me? He's like, you're already doing it basically. He's like, just let's do it officially. And I was like, okay. Sure. Wow. I just yes. I knew what I was doing.
But how did you know how to do contracts? Like, how did you know how to save
your
ass?
So, and that's the thing is that I learned the most I ever did in that role because I fully stepped out of my comfort zone and into shoes I had no idea like what size they even were. I was just like in them, and it was me. It was Shway. It was his business management, and it was his booking agent. And he had a tour booked that fall, and his booking agent sent the routing. And I looked at Shway, and he was like, okay. And I was like, okay, what? And he was like, we gotta go on tour. And I was like, how do we go on tour? And he's like, well, that's your job. And I was like, oh, okay. So I like printed out a map that night of the country, and I put down all the like tour cities, and I drew a line, and I figured out what the distances were between the cities. And then I was like, how do we get from place to place? And so I figured, okay, there's a van. We had no money. So I was like, there's a van, there's a tour bus, which like, by the way, very expensive. So expensive. Very expensive. I laughed when I saw the price. I was like, we can't do that.
No, at the peak of my career, I had like the dirtiest, nastiest bus. And they're like, and
you're like, you should be grateful.
I know. They were like, this is really nice. I was like, yes.
Yeah. So our budget was a 15 passenger van and a trailer. There was like 12 of us because it was Shwayze and the band that he had a 3-piece band and a background vocalist and a DJ, but they were also all his openers. So he was the headliner, then the 3-piece band was his direct support, and then the background singer had her own set, and then before her the DJ played. So
it was like you two
girls, it was all
of
us.
Whole bus of dudes.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then we shared rooms. Like there was times when we had like a double room, like 2 queen beds, and then me and the girl would share a bed, and then the 2 guys would share a bed. And then in the same room. Same room, one bathroom.
Okay.
One bathroom.
Oh. I used to have like dancers that would share a room in my early career, and they would come to me and they're like, we're going to kill each other. Yeah. You need to pay for extra rooms. And I was like, no problem.
I was just on survival. Like I was just like, this is cool. I'm figuring it out. We're just going to do it.
How long were those tours?
That tour was like 5 weeks, I think.
Okay, good. I was like 5 months.
No, 5 weeks. But
5 weeks, okay.
But in order to get it started, it's like things I learned, right, on the job. If you pick up a tour, like if you pick up a van in one city and drop it in another city, they charge you a fee, and that fee wasn't worth the price. So me and 2 of the guys, a photographer and like a hype guy, we drove the 15 passenger van and trailer, me and the 2 guys, from LA to Boston in 3 days, not stopping. 3 days. And we like stopped in parking lots.
3 days nonstop.
3 days nonstop. So we like,
that's got to be the fastest across country drive.
We had to because
we
had to start the tour.
It's like an 8 to 10 day drive.
Everybody else flew. So we just like, when we weren't driving, we were sleeping. And we genuinely just didn't have time to stop and like sleep in a motel or anything.
Anybody have any Adderall? I feel like I need Adderall.
Oh no, I was terrified of drugs and alcohol and everything.
God,
I was just like, I need to be focused.
I would have been like, I need to focus.
Where were your parents? Were they like crying or you just didn't tell them?
My mom literally dropped me off to where the van was, and I took a photo with the van, and it's 100 times my size and 5 feet tall. And I was like, okay, mom, like they just trusted me. And even with like LMFAO, I was like, is these guys in Speedos, this video sexy? And I do it.
Does this photo exist?
Be on tour with them. Yeah, it's on my Instagram.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
I just have the trailer in it too. Here it is. But we did that. That's where it started. It started at Boston College, and the show was lit. And it was a college show, and college shows sometimes pay a pretty good fee.
I did a lot of college shows.
Yeah, college shows are amazing. And being at USC, I put on these college shows, so I knew how it all worked. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. So that's how we kicked it off. Then we go to our first tour stop. I think it was like somewhere in Virginia. And we show up to sound check, and there's no instruments on the stage. There's no drum kit. And I go to the guy, and I'm like, hey, where's the drum kit? And he goes, oh, you guys don't have backline. And I was like, excuse me? And I'm like, we drove with a trailer with no drum kit in it because we thought that the drum line, like the back line was provided. And for those that don't know, back line is when the venue provides like the drum kit and the basic necessities, so you don't have to lug it with you, like lighting packages, that stuff. So I was like, okay. And so I go to the drummer and I'm like, hey, you're from Virginia. Let's find a friend that has a drum kit, huh? And we figured it out. Let's figure this out. Let's go.
And you pulled it together.
And on that tour, pulled it. We had to. I mean, the show was that night. And so I think we had a local opener that night. So we used their drum kit and we like paid them a couple $100 that we didn't have. And Shweezy is like notoriously known for like summertime music. Yeah. And we did this tour in October and November in the fall on the East Coast. Not the vibe. And so we would show up to venues sometimes and there'd be like 12 people there for this show. And we're like, oh. And like kudos to Shway, like every night, no matter how many people were there, he rocked it out and it was amazing. But I'm like, why did we do a summertime tour on the East Coast in the winter at this point? It went fall to winter. And I was like, none of this makes sense, but we were in it.
You learned so much.
I had to. And like there are times when we would get money that night and we would hit the road to go to the next city and I'd have someone else drive so I could go on Priceline and book the hotels in the next city while we were driving there. Cause I was like, we need places to sleep. And
do you miss touring?
I don't miss touring like that.
Yeah.
I do think touring is fun because I do think live shows are incredible. And like, we've never toured together, but there was a moment when you were doing like blocks of shows and we'd fly and we'd do like Philly and Chicago and New York and then we'd fly back. And then I think that's kind of cool. But I wouldn't mind another like bus tour.
Bro, how hard is it to get a doctor's appointment these days?
Unbelievably hard. And the wait times are insane. We could have recorded an entire episode in the time I've spent in waiting rooms.
Bro, and when you're pregnant, like moi, you need appointments constantly. That's why I'm a big fan of Teledoc Primary 360. Listen, everyone listen to me right now. You should be able to see a doctor when it's convenient for you.
Louder for the people in the back!
Teledoc has got it all figured out. Why? They allow you to connect with a primary care doctor on your time in the comfort of your own home, period.
You'll meet with a board-certified doctor who will get to know you and provide whole-person care. That means advice, prescriptions, even mental health support, and referrals.
Wow. And with Teledoc, you can connect with someone 24/7. What? I can't even get Daryl on the phone 24/7. They are perfect for things like a sore throat, rashes, or the flu, and other things that you need immediate help with. So parents, take notice, okay? Listen up, seriously. Or anyone who doesn't want to be sick for that long, okay? You know I'm a homebody, so I love doing everything at home.
Download the app to get started today or go online, register, or schedule your Primary 360 visit at teledochealth.com/360.
That's TELADOC health.com/360.
D-Money, love the thumbs up. Come on.
Now I feel bad. I'm like, I'm your artist, and I haven't done a single tour with you in like years.
No, it's okay.
COVID was crazy.
I needed the break.
Yeah, I did too.
That I think I got my first gray hairs
part,
there.
But I think if we change a few things, it could be my favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. You always, every time you like are doing a show, during it, and then right after, you're like, fuck stage, yeah, you're hyped.
You're
it's everything leading up to
hardest working artist like that I've ever met, in the sense that you sing.
You think so?
Every single word to every single one of your songs.
I gotta stop doing
You don't even put the microphone out for them to sing. You're like, no. They paid to see me. I'm gonna sing every word.
Yeah, you put on a goddamn show like a Vegas show.
Work very hard.
Yeah, I just feel
which is amazing.
But
I
was out there, I would want to see that. You know, like, wow, she's putting in effort. But I even my last
I think there's a way to cheat.
Yeah, there's a way to cheat. Like you can take a moment, let your dancers do the dance break. Yeah. Take a breather.
You gotta do more of
You
those.
can wave. Take
what were
some
you thinking
selfies.
on your last tour?
Well, I used to do a bunch of like you sing, which I still do. But then I would even like in the middle of the tour, I'd be like, my voice is hoarse, like I'm not gonna make it through tonight, and I would pre-record a chorus, and then I'd go and try to I'd have to lip sync that chorus, but I felt so guilty that I would just sing it anyways.
That's what I mean. You still sing it?
And my mom and and Daryl, my boyfriend at the time, would have their in-ears in, and I would get yelled at. I would get off stage, and they go, "You're singing. Why are you singing?" And I was like,
I think you know what it is. Growing up, did this impact you? I feel like it was a very impactful moment. It was when Ashley Simpson lip-synced on SNL.
Oh, yeah. That scarred me for life.
I feel like that was just like, how
And that was guys, it was a fluke accident.
Yeah.
From what I heard, the
Wait,
drummer
what's the real truth?
hit the wrong like track cue because like he was cueing the tracks, right? Because they didn't have playback.
So she was gonna
So
sing?
drummer was playback, and he hit the wrong track. So it like messed up, and it just looked crazy. And then she panicked, and then it was just all bad. And at the time, it was like there was no really social media, so she couldn't come out with a video and say, "Hey, this is what happened."
Yeah.
Oh, poor girl.
It just got, and then it was just news everywhere.
Yeah. And in that moment, it was just like
she did the jig.
No one could ever.
She did that.
Which,
I
like,
love her.
If I were to panic, I'd just
so
be like,
nice, dude.
Yeah.
Woo,
Yeah, what are you gonna
do? But
so I feel like that scarred you or something. I don't know. You just really don't want to get caught lip singing and don't want to be a lip singer.
But I realized like how many people don't work as much as that, like how many people.
It's still because it's still very hard work. It's not like you're still putting on a performance and putting on a show for a bunch of people.
And I almost
night after night.
Calling it lip syncing is not. Like, I think it has a bad connotation. I think realistically, it's building in breaks for yourself.
Putting on a good show.
Putting on a good show, but also building in breaks where, like, you don't necessarily sing the chorus. The dancers go crazy.
Or the background singers can do it.
And the ad-libs go up.
On that tour. I picked horns instead.
Because people would rather have you, finish the tour instead of, ruining your vocal cords, right?
I know,
like,
that's the tough part, dude.
That's the other thing. It's, do you want a long tour run or you want a super short tour?
Yeah. They're like, so blood's coming out, so we're gonna have to chill down. And I was like, I can't. They're gonna kill me. They're gonna hate me.
I think when we do it, and I think this is something I've learned too. Like, you learn to protect your artists. Like, if they're straining their vocal cords or if they're exhausted, you go, hey, these things aren't worth it. Like, let's protect you. Let's figure out.
That's why we should do a 2 p.m. show.
I don't know about
Sally?
that. As someone that
This
went
is the only
to
place we
shows
disagree.
her whole life.
Guys, I can't go to bed at midnight. I'm gonna get
Listen to 2 p.m. shows just like Swayze summer songs in November. It's just not gonna work out.
Thank you.
Comment below if you would love to come to a 1 p.m. show.
It's just not gonna work out.
I do think
what about 6 p.m.er? No,
for the
dinner.
Nobody gets dinner, exactly. I think there's a happy medium. I think there's some places we could do some
I
matinees.
would beg to start at 8 p.m. and they were like, go out at 8:30. I'm like, my last show or whatever, and I was like, but I'm ready now. Like, and they're all here. They're waiting.
Think about a Wednesday night in Los Angeles with the traffic, and you're trying to get from here to the venue, and you just picked your kids up from school, and they're trying to get ready. And
you're leaving Orange County to make a show at the Greek. It's 3-hour drive. You just got off at work at 6 p.m. You're going to miss 40 minutes of the set.
I got off work one night at 6:30, literally on the dot, jumped in my friend's car. We drove to Pomona, which is far out in LA. I don't even know if it's in LA anymore, actually. But like just drove straight, and I barely made it for the band set at 9 p.m. Traffic is just horrific. And so those are the people that I think about. I think about myself selfishly. Okay. But I do think we could do some matinee shows. I do think there's a balance. Maybe there's a market that makes sense for that, and it's like a Saturday, and your show starts a little earlier.
Yeah, maybe a fun little Saturday.
I also wish we could just clone me and then just be like, you go do it.
You got to start wearing like a mask or something.
I know. When I saw Marshmallow and his existence, I was like, oh, you figured this out.
Smart.
So smart.
Smart.
I'm holding my gut because my child's trying to escape here.
So I just want to know, and then how did you pivot to, how did you find yourself a Full Stop manager?
So basically that tour, that like I learned everything. Like now when I talk to your production manager and he's telling me about inputs and outputs at front of house, like I actually know what he's talking about because I had to do it all and I just learned it. And the thing is, and I think not to quote Kim Kardashian, but like nobody wants to work these days.
Period.
It's just, it's like sometimes if I wasn't in a situation where I had to figure it out, I was just like, it's do or die. I was like, I want this so bad. I'm just going to do it. Like I didn't sleep very much.
Yeah, but you're a different breed, bro. You're like, I'm going to figure out Photoshop for my artist.
I just want it.
I want it. The company can't do it. I'm going to do it for her.
Yeah, because I'm just like,
you're extra special.
This is the end goal. This is where we want to get to. And a bunch of people are saying no. And I don't see that, like, so people are like, no, it's not possible. It's like, why isn't it possible? You're not giving me a reason it's not possible. So let me just try to do it. And I think that's just always how I've been. I don't know if it's like immigrant mentality. I don't know like what it is, but it's just kind of like 99% of things in life you can figure out. You just have to work hard to do it. And I think once I did the tour and we kind of came off of that tour, it rocked my world. And I realized I wanted more stability because it was just flying by the seat of our pants all the time. No budget.
Constant chaos.
You're constantly knocking on doors trying to find money to like make dreams come true. And I think we honestly both got tired and we just kind of paused. And then I took a year. I actually ended up taking a year. I couldn't get a job, which is crazy.
Whoa.
With everything I had done, I'd never had like a proper like
did you apply and people said no?
Yeah, I didn't get responses. They didn't even say no. I just never heard back. And that's another thing about relationships is I was just cold sending out my resume and then I'm hitting up some people, but they were just like either not in the music industry anymore or they didn't have a job opening at the time. But like applying online with your resume, hitting up people on LinkedIn, like I went through that for a year even after all my experience. And it wasn't until a friend I had met at Lionsgate at the time and I kept in touch with because we met and I was like, hey, like let's keep in touch. And then I did posted something on LinkedIn of, hey, you know, someone at Full Stop Management is looking for an assistant. And at the time, like in the beginning of that 1 year, I was like, I'm not going to be an assistant. I've done so much.
Right.
By the end of the year, I was like, I don't care. Actually, I love this so much. And maybe it's good to start as an assistant. Maybe I'll learn something else that's new. And I think that's something I implore everyone to think about is like you can always learn something. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can learn something new every day. And I think we pigeonhole ourselves when like you have a young intern, for example, that's working for someone that's older in the industry and that older person doesn't think they can learn anything from that intern. Like what they're learning from you is just as valuable as what you can learn from them. And so I think I was like, okay, I'll start on a desk. I've never answered phones before. I'll learn how to answer phones. I'll learn this person's Rolodex. I'll figure out how to like essentially start in the mailroom because I never did that. And so then I applied and I ended up getting an interview and I was very honest in my interview. I was like, listen, like I've done a lot. I've never answered phones, but I was like, I'm sure I can do it. I just got to learn how and like figure it out, but I'll figure it out. I promise. And I started all over again at, how old was I? 26, 27. 26, 27. I can't remember. But like at a desk, answering phones after like having been on tour and like running an indie label and working in a major label. I was just like, whatever, like this is my new journey. And I was only on that desk for like a year and 2 months. And I just was like, I'm going to answer the phones the best damn way I can answer phones. Like I'm going to learn this phone system and be a wizard at it. And they're like, make my call sheet. I'm like, I'm going to make you the prettiest call sheet you've ever seen. And Tommy Bruce noticed that I put in extra effort, I think. And basically one day I was in Tommy's office and he was like, what do you want to do, Sal? Like, what are your goals? What are your dreams? And I was like, I just want to be really good at this job. And I want to like work with artists and I want to help make their dreams come true. And he's like, noted. And then and
then he hired you as my day-to-day.
Well, then I had a conversation with Jeffrey. And then Kareem, who was desk I started on at Full Stop, he like sat me down one day and he's like, there's an opportunity for you. He's like, you wouldn't be working with me anymore. And he's like, but I'm never one to get in the way of anyone's growth. And he's like, but you'd have an incredible opportunity to work with Meghan Trainor. And
you went from answering phones to being my day-to-day, bitch.
But I mean, she already had done all that shit.
No, when you came into my life, I was like, oh, she's been doing this for 50 years.
Because like, I had been. I just kind of like then started. I had to start over. And I think that's another thing too. It took my ego out of it. Yeah. In the beginning, I had ego. I was like, I can't work. I can't be a
when you're like, I was only there for a year and a half. I'm like, that's a lifetime to kids nowadays.
It is.
Yeah, but
like, I'll intern for like 3 months. I won't do it for a year. That's my whole
life.
But like,
and it was, it was a year and a half, but it was like 9:30 to 6:30, Monday through Friday. And I was like, I'm going to be there at 9:25 and I'm going to be there as long as I need to be there and like stay overtime if I have to.
See, different breed mentality though, bro.
And I think that's what's missing is
how do I put that into just
work ethic. Like that's how you become anything you put your
there it is.
mind to. Anything you put your mind to, you have to want it bad enough, I think. Find what you're passionate about. And it doesn't feel like work. Like, yes, there are mundane activities, putting together Excel sheets, looking at deal memos. I'd never looked at a deal memo in my life.
I don't know what that is.
Figured it out. It's like when, so a deal memo is if you are going to perform a show, then your agency will send over a deal memo, which says like, this is the venue, this is the capacity, this is how much you're getting paid, this is if you have to do a meet and greet or not, how many people, and like the basic like things that you're agreeing to in the contract. And then that deal memo then turns into a full-blown contract. And so that's something I learned about on that job. And it's like, again, you're learning things. And so that led to my opportunity working with you. And I was just like, wow, I was like, this is familiar but different because you were the first female I ever worked with.
Oh.
Which was crazy because I'm like, I have only worked with men. You
had to learn about like glam.
I was like,
wardrobe.
How much time does she need in glam?
3 hours, Jesus Christ.
We used to do 3 hours, dude. What's wrong with us?
I was
now
like,
we're like
what?
an hour and a half figured out.
Yeah.
But it's a different world.
But your heart must have broke too. Of like, oh my God, these guys used to put on their sweatpants.
I got so mad.
Drunk.
I honestly got angry.
And I was like,
the
oh,
more
no
we
more
and the more I worked with you, the more I was like, okay, now I have a different passion. And my passion is like educating people on what a woman has to go through to be in this industry, how differently they're judged and looked at. Like I came from a world of working with people, not all the time, but they would wake up hungover, late, wear the same clothes from last night, show up to an interview, and the interviewer thought it was hilarious. What would happen if Meghan did that?
They would try and get you in rehab or something.
Yeah,
it'd be
they'd be
chaos.
like, Meghan is disheveled and she's a bad mom and all. It's like, whoa, like she just didn't brush her hair today. Like it's okay, but it's a different world, and it's made me super passionate to also tell other women to get in the industry. Like I think we're very. I don't want this to come off as cynical, but we're in a world where people are working really hard for change, and I think it will happen. I think we're a long ways away. I think equality is way far off. All we can do is keep working toward it, but I think it would be naive not to look at the truth, and the truth is that we're at a disadvantage as women in the industry, and I think the best thing we can do is put our best foot forward, work really, really hard. Sometimes we have to work 10 times as hard as our male counterparts. That's just the reality.
Yeah, you got to pop in on those fucking 10-inch heels just to run the show.
And sometimes
you go, right, I got my heels on today. I'm running the show.
You know what's crazy? On a set of one of your music videos, I won't say which one, I showed up comfortable, right? It was a cold day. I had to get there at 5 a.m. I had a beanie, I had a shirt, I had leggings, and I had sneakers. And they thought I was Chris Pepe's assistant.
Not Pepe's assistant.
No, they literally looked at him.
Every other guy, like a guy manager could pull up in sweats.
I know which one.
They looked at him and they were like, okay, and when is she ready? And then he would look at me, and then I would be like, well, she's in glam right now. And they would look at him.
Pepe's top.
Hi, Riley.
Hi, buddy.
Look at that smile.
Did you go to school? Yeah. Did you have so much fun? So much fun. Say yes. Bar. Oh, my bar. Yeah.
Bar.
Mama ate your bar. Sorry. Sorry.
It's all gone.
Okay. Oh, he's going to bed.
Good night.
We love you, Riley.
I love you, kids. Thank you. Say it's time to go to sleep.
Good night.
Good night. Bye bye. Say bye bye. Bye bye. He doesn't want to go.
He's like, it's my turn now.
I love you so much. I miss you. I'll see you after now. Bye, Riley.
Bye, Riley.
Bye, Pepe.
Bye.
Okay, so you showed up and they were like, you're her assistant.
Yeah,
so
because why?
Because
I didn't present myself as a boss. I didn't show up with my hair done and my makeup on and my heels on and whatever. And I realized it was like a very important lesson for me to learn, in the sense of, that's just the world we work in. And I can be angry about it and sit here and cross my arms and be like, boo hoo. Or I could take advantage of it. I can be like, okay, I'll do my hair, then I'll do my makeup, and I'll dress like a boss. And that's how people will, that's how brains are trained to think like, oh, that woman is in charge. Fine. If that's what you need, I'm just going to do it. And I'm just going to do my job really well. And I'll get to where I'm trying to go. And I can help pave the way, bring more women into the industry, and hopefully change it over time. But just understanding the disadvantages we're at is an advantage. And I don't want to complain about it. I just want to change it and just continue to work, trying to like be the best version of me, be nice, treat people with kindness, as Harry Styles says. It's true. Like, be nice to other people. And I think one thing that if I could change today, if I was like, I'm taking this away with a magic wand, it would be competition between women.
Yes.
And knowing that there's enough room for all of us at the top.
But it's not even us doing it, dude. It's the radio stations.
Yeah. But we have to band together, and we have to band together. And if somebody comes out and pits me against like another female manager, like immediately hitting up that female manager and saying, hey, just so you know, like, we're cool, right? And if they say we're cool, then it's immediately like, we're cool. Like,
that's crazy.
Whether I have to tweet it or like post it on Instagram, like, we're cool. Like, photo, we're good. Like, this isn't don't make it a thing. It's not a thing.
So you're talking about like the pop culture, like
tough though,
people pitting artists against each other.
Yeah,
but you're saying like on the back end, like even like women managers will be like,
yeah, of course,
battles?
because I think there's a world of, and Whitney Cummings has talked about this before in the past too. Like when she was coming up as a female comedian, if there was, like 10 people on the show that night and there was a woman, there's one slot for one woman. And so it creates this culture where the women have to like fight each other for that one slot. But what I'm saying is it's not like that anymore. We don't have to make it like that anymore. Like we can create our own showcase and we'll do all women, And I think when you're working behind the scenes in music, especially like where people are getting pit against each other constantly, like we don't need to be a part of that problem. Like that problem's going to exist, but like I don't want to be a part of that. I want to say like if there's someone, let's say like we're up for an award, I want to reach out and be like, hey, let's get lunch. Like, let's get to know each other. Cause like if we're up for the same award, then we're both working our asses off. So like, it's cool if we get to know each other.
My mom's biggest dream is to have a sleepover with all the pop stars, the girls.
That would be so
amazing. I was like, our calendars are crazy, but every female pop star that comes in here, I'm like, would you do a sleepover with me? And we can have popcorn and talk about like, how'd you pay for lighting on your tour? And like,
because think about how much more you have in common than
They're
you
probably
don't.
my best friends.
Yeah, you guys can
and
come
I
up with,
only
like,
get to see them like at awards shows and be like, I miss you.
Yeah,
and then it's gone.
And then it's gone because you're busy.
Like,
but
dang.
It's just like in your mind, you're such an incredible example of you're nice to everyone. Man, woman, non-binary, whatever you identify as, you are nice to them. You don't care. You're just a good person. And it's so incredible to surround yourself with good people. And I think you, in order to like make it as a manager, right, you can learn everything you need to learn along the way, right? Do your research. If you're going into an interview, do your research. Who are you talking to? What have they done? Like if you're talking to an artist, listen to their music. Listen to their music. People go into an interview and they don't listen to that person's music. I'm like, what? Listen to their music. Crazy. Where did they come from? Like, what can you find out about them? So you're just a little bit well-versed and you're not like, so Megan, you were born on Nantucket. What else has she done?
Or they're like, you were raised in Nashville.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
You had a song all about that. And you're like, what has she done recently? Like, it's just a Google. Like, the information's right there. Like, information is, like, knowledge is power. Information is key. And
we notice, we love when people send us stuff and they're like, they spell my name wrong. I'm like, it's in my email, like it's
just proofread. Like it's so autocorrect is a real thing. It happens to all of us. But just like reread your sentence before you hit send. It's not that hard. Just go the extra step. That's all. Work hard. And I think don't be creepy. Like just if you're trying to talk to someone or trying to get a coffee with someone, then email that, like message them on LinkedIn. Maybe get their email. And like when you send an email to someone you're trying to sit with, don't copy and paste it from an obvious email that you've sent to 400 other people that you're trying to sit and have a coffee with.
Smart, yeah.
Period.
What goes a long way is like, hey, Sally, I noticed that you worked here, here, and here. And I think it's really interesting what you do in the industry because my dream is to do X, Y, and Z. Do you have 5 minutes for me to ask you a question? Then I go, yes, I do. But then if I get something that's like, hi there, love that you work in music. I'm passionate about it. I'd love to talk to you. What's your name? Where are you from? Why did you find me? Who am I? Like, at least say my name.
Who am I?
At least say my name.
So I think it's just like being a manager, to me is still like a dream job that I never knew I wanted. I just knew that I loved music. And now I'm in this position that I'm in. And I think it's so magical. And I would just say like, I just continue to work hard because I think that's how you continue to get ahead. My dream is to hopefully maybe get to a point where I can be an example for others and help open doors for them. Like we met Van Picken in Australia, who runs Sony Music, Australia, New Zealand. And she's
a new mama.
Blown away. She's a new mama. She carries herself very well. She's a boss. She's super cool. She's kind.
So kind.
You came in, you had to go downstairs. She's helped you down the stairs and said, can I get you water? Can I
Yeah.
get you coffee? What do you need?
Yeah.
No ego, right?
I was like, she runs this whole place.
She runs the whole place.
What? And like, we were like, where can we get the famous sausages from Australia? She went on a Sunday.
Sausage roll.
Sausage roll. She went on a Sunday by herself. Runs this record label.
Yeah.
Went on a Sunday with her whole family. Went and got me sausage rolls.
Yeah. You and your team, your whole team. And she dropped them off to me.
So good.
And I was like, wow.
I was like, you did that?
And
like,
that's it's just the perfect example of just be a good person.
Yeah.
Do your work, do it well. Be a good
Don't have a
person
crazy
and
ego.
remember why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's people out there that are they just want to do it for the clout and they just want to get near their favorite artist just to like take a selfie and post it on their Instagram. And it's like, that's your prerogative. Cool. That's just not how I do it. And I don't think that buys you longevity.
No, it's not a long-term thing.
I don't think and for me, I always look at long-term.
Yeah.
And it's just like Meghan, what are your dreams in like 10 years? Like, what do you want to accomplish? It's like, I want to be a mogul. Okay, great. Mogul, show, invest in companies, help build these companies, like platform. What are you passionate about? And it's like having these conversations and being able to put it out into the world and then just like dreaming big. Literally.
Dream big.
Dream big, work hard.
Women in the industry.
And more women in the industry.
You know how many female producers I found? Zero.
Yeah, like all aspects of the industry.
It's
like
tough.
Writers, producers.
That's to the point where when I tell people I produce, they go,
yeah.
No, you don't. You know, and I'm like, I do. I sit there and then until they see it in person, they're like, what the fuck? You know, they're like freaked out.
Yeah. But that's part of the problem too. It's like we can talk sports all day long. And it's funny because if you were to go up to someone and start talking about your favorite sports team, the person would talk right back to you about it. If I start talking about my favorite sports team, they'd go, oh yeah, you're a fan? And I'd be like, yeah. And then if I decide to indulge and drop some stats on them about my favorite roster on the LA Clippers back in 2003, then they go, oh wow, you really do know what you're talking about. And I'm like,
whoa, but
I sure do.
But you're a girl.
Whoa, pretty lady talks sports.
Yeah.
And then it's like people see you in the studio and they're like, call the news station.
How to work a computer?
She comps her own vocals.
Yeah.
She does her own ad libs. What?
It's kind of like that compliment that's like, you're not even that big in person. You know? It's like,
it's so rude.
I'm like, yeah, no shit. I've been doing this since I was 13. What do you mean? Also, I don't want to scare people away from being a manager, but your hours are fucked.
Correct. That's true.
That is like the one downfall. I will call these. I'm an asshole. I will call them at 9:45 with a meltdown of like, who posted it?
Any day of the week.
I'm not good. And I was like, oh, all right, guys, it's Sunday. My bad. Go to bed. So sorry.
That's part of the job, right? Like that's
why I'm like, I have two of yous because I always bug
you. Have
him.
a team.
You got a few.
Pepe will take it. I'm sorry, Pepe. I love you.
I love you, Pepe. No, but you know what? We're a team. It's like me. It's Chris. It's Tommy. You can always get one of us.
I have like multiple, but not every management company is like that.
Yeah.
They were like, wait, your managers go with you to places? And I was like, oh. I was like, if I'm doing a podcast at my house, they will be here on the couch. Like,
yeah.
If I am on
full stop, baby.
I had a phone call for 15 minutes, and Pepe showed up at my house and was like, I got the phone call ready. I was like, oh, I could have dialed in, you know?
I think it depends. I think there's different levels. I think you're also used to that, and you're also working on 3 billion things. Like sometimes it's easier for us to come with you somewhere for 30 minutes
you
and
literally
then
drive me
in the middle, ask you a couple questions that we have for like, you know,
you're like, well, I've trapped you in this car.
Well,
it's all about planning ahead, schedule ahead,
planning ahead, and just caring. Just care, guys. Like, just put in the effort. I think that's it. It's really, honestly, it's not that hard. Pay attention to detail, do the work. I think that's where it gets hard for people. They go, I have to pick up a phone call at 10 p.m. on a Sunday. And it's like, yeah, it's part of the thing. You also get to hold the NBA Larry O'Brien trophy. There's perks. But it comes with the hard work. Yeah. And I think if you're doing this just for the clout, just for the perks, you're going to have a really hard time. If you're doing it because you love music and you love the industry and you love to learn, then you're going to thrive.
Also, seeing you guys work so hard and like care so much, is the only thing that keeps me going. Like, it makes me, I'm like, well, they work so hard to get the deal. Let's do it.
Damn, they care so much. Got it.
Yeah. When I say no to shit and my guilt eats me alive, it's because I'm like, I'm going to let them down. Like, over the companies or whatever.
And then we have to be like, Meghan, no.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
And then I'll be like,
it's fine.
So I cried all night because I just don't think that I should do it.
You're such a good person. You're rare. You're a gem. You guys are gems. Like, I feel like a part of this family, and it's a rare thing. And listen, there's different kinds. There's managers that show up to one show here and there in different cities. There's different ways to do it.
Some artists are like, leave. And I'm like, please don't.
Yeah. And it's different. I think that's the beauty of management, too.
Pepe, come here.
Come say.
We're having a love fest.
We did it.
We did it.
We're at the end here.
I think it's different.
Pepe, yep, there
Pepe,
you are.
my lifeline.
My
we talk all day, every day.
I called him. I FaceTimed him the other day, and he probably thought it was a work thing. And I was like, yo, where'd you get that burger from? Because I'm trying to find a burger.
Damn. Now I can't stop thinking about that. I'm
The
hungry.
new place. The burger's fire.
I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about
Amazing.
Sorry. Oh,
Sally,
fasting.
I'm fasting. Sally, you're a superstar.
You're
I'm trying
superstar.
to. Yeah.
We're to get more women.
Such a fascinating story.
Thanks, guys.
Your life is amazing.
Thanks for letting me be a part of the family. It's really
Of
great.
course. Welcome.
I love you so much.
Love you
Join
guys.
Full Stop Management. Become part of the Trainor family.
Yeah, go to the internship.
Hey.
You're
Yeah, all the
crazy.
interns at Full Stop. Go talk to Sally. Talk to
Come
Pepe.
talk to me.
Get a couple.
Yeah, email me.
Pepe's like, go to Sally.
Maybe you'll hear something. Go to Sally. Leave
Go
me
to
alone.
her.
I don't
Maybe
know
you might learn
everything.
something that you're like, ooh, that could be a fun job. There's
Yeah.
so many aspects. There's so many avenues
There's-
in the music world.
And
Yeah,
I will say
yeah,
just
do
real
it.
quick, there are other facets of the music industry. There's music publishing.
Yeah.
There's music management. There's record label. There's indie labels. Like, just if you love music, there's a place for you. Figure it out. Figure out what you're passionate about. Music law also is really cool. I just didn't want to do all that extra school.
Yeah.
And I just say go for it. Try. If you don't try, you'll never know. So
Period. Do
Go
things
for
that
it.
scare you. Get uncomfortable.
Thanks, friends and family, for listening to another episode of Workin On It, Pod.
We hope
love
you
you very
learned something.
much.
We love you. Bye, Uncle Steve.